Greetings, how you doing? Coach Fleischer here, and we are still in Module 2, and we're in the first session of Module 2, commonly known as the fourth week of class. And building on the previous presentation and just talking about positive and negative types of contractions, we're going to jump into, in this presentation, more specifically like single joint versus multi-joint contractions. And again, we're talking human movement. It's inherently complex, but really when you boil it down, right, you have single joint, multi-joint. With a single joint, only one joint is being articulated. We use the bicep or the elbow in the bicep curl example and the elbow in the tricep extension example and tricep pushdown. Multi-joint, two joints are being articulated to complete an exercise. With single joint, you have less muscle. You have greater muscle utilization with multi-joint. And when you look at exercise itself, you can kind of have this kind of antagonistic muscle group training methodology, and you can use these to your advantage in training, right? You can do biceps, triceps, you can do, for example, chest and biceps, back and triceps. So you're working antagonistic, single joint, multi-joint. And that goes further into the next bullet point where you can have single joint, multi-joint exercise. This stuff is not carved in stone. And you can use these type of little philosophies and philosophical changes, if you will, in your training month to month to break up things in a much bigger picture, to eliminate boredom, to change the training stimulus, to get back to general adaptation, to get a training response that you want. So it's not like you have to do chest by itself, and you have to do triceps on another day, biceps on another day. You can do a chest workout with a bicep workout and do a back workout with a tricep workout. And that's a very common split routine that you'll see done in the gym. And it's neither wrong nor right, but it's a wonderful way to break up body parts and kind of work antagonistically. Now, for example, if we have a single joint exercise like a dumbbell fly, the partner to that on a multi-joint side would be a dumbbell chest press. You think about that in a dumbbell chest press or a bench press or a push-up, the shoulder and the elbow are both moving. A dumbbell side raise, which you've seen a video of that, okay? And then you have a barbell shoulder press. All right, cool, got it, right? So then you start to put these together in terms of a dumbbell bicep curl and a wide grip lat pull down while the elbow is moving for both, closing, contracting the bicep to make that happen. All right, cool, got it. You start to process. And we had a tricep push down versus that close grip chest press, or I used the example in one of the videos of a close grip push-up. That'd be a cousin to that. And then just a single leg tipping bird, which is a single leg stiff legged deadlift versus lunges. So you can kind of categorize your exercises into single joint and multi-joint, and they can even be the same muscle group. It's just you're targeting them a little bit differently. So for example, between these two, you have dumbbell bench press on the left, and you have dumbbell flies on the right. Let's see if this guy's going to work for me. All right, let's see if we can get this guy to work here. Elbow and shoulder both moving, but in this example, you have chest, shoulders, and triceps are all working to make this happen. Over here, it's a single joint exercise where you're focusing on the chest, and this is kind of a quirky thing about exercise, right? You always have other muscle that comes to the party to make a movement happen. And so I would then ask you, in terms of working out, it's very apparent in a dumbbell bench press because the elbow is moving, right? And the elbow is bending and extending, so the tricep has to work. And you'll see here in a second, concentrically, eccentrically, and we talked about concentric, eccentric before in our previous presentation. So in here, you have a concentric, eccentric cycle. Right? Concentric, eccentric. Over here with the fly, is it the same? Well, of course it's not the same because you don't have the elbow bending and extending, but as the person is doing their fly and bringing the dumbbells further out, the chest is working, of course. Your triceps have to work to help you stabilize the elbow joint. So it's just a philosophical thing and just kind of food for thought for you guys. In any exercise, is it truly single joint or do you have other muscle that has to work to maybe help stabilize the joint? Is it truly just a single muscle, the bicep, that's working in a bicep curl, or do other muscles work to help stabilize the torso, the back, and the shoulders? And so you kind of get out of this very one-dimensional, it's only a bicep curl, so it's just biceps, or I'm doing fly, so it's only chest. You start looking at this and you start evaluating, you go, well, other muscles have to work, right? You have to use muscles to hold on to the dumbbells. You have to use muscles to stabilize those dumbbells in the forearm. You have to use muscles across the elbows to stabilize the shoulder. So it becomes a little bit more complex as you get further into it. But if we kind of keep this on a very simple level, you have a multi-joint exercise, a single joint exercise, chest, shoulders, and triceps, and here it's predominantly, if not almost exclusively chest, but you have to have other muscles that come to work to help stabilize in the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist. But as an example for a same body part, and one is a multi-joint and one is a single joint, here it is. And I'll fire up. Thanks, I had to get my last 2 reps in there. Okay, so if we go into this, now this is kind of a brain bender for you. I like doing this one with my clients as a way to integrate in a little bit of, if you will, motor coordination and CNS work, right? So this is a dumbbell press fly. You'll notice it's a multi-joint exercise on one side and a single joint exercise on the other. It's a press on the left hand, a fly on the right. And you have this asymmetrical loading that happens, and it happens because of the multi-joint, single joint positioning, but also because of that single joint movement seen in the right hand. You have a long lever that moves out and away from the center of the body, the midline of the body. This is further out than this one. And so the leverage is different. So again, in exercise, is it truly we're trying to focus just on chest and chest alone? Heck no, because you know this, my midsection has to fire to keep me from falling off the bench. Let me play this for you and I'll have you take a look at it. But keep in mind in terms of there's a higher degree of motor coordination, there's a higher degree of musculature firing to keep me stable, and then also you would do half and half, by the way. I just want to put that disclaimer out there. Here you go. So you'll get into more on the kinesiology side, and you'll get into more like moment arms and how far away you are from the actual center of gravity from the body, the axis of rotation, et cetera. You know, these are things you'll dip into a little bit further. But this is just kind of a food for thought thing, right? In terms of what is actually being brought to the party and how you can integrate this type of philosophy into training with clients. And even as a rehab specialist, how you can get your clients to fire. You know, many times when a person is injured and they go through a rehab curve, you are almost stuck in a re-education process with your clients. You have to teach them how to move again. Little things like this where you're forcing one fire side to fire a little bit different than the other gets your body to actually work in a more coordinated manner. And it lends itself then to training wise, being able to load them up a little bit more later on. I use this as an exercise in a bit of a transition week. I use this, it's not heavy load, please, it's not heavy load at all. You're talking about using your flyweight to do a chest press. But it's a great way to kind of get your body to think, fingers in quotes, a little bit different and get your body to fire asymmetrically. So the lat pull down, here's another example of a multi-joint exercise. The elbow is bending and extending, meaning flexion and extension. And it's pretty easy to see here because the elbow is right here in the forefront of the video. But you'll see flexion, extension, flexion, extension. So with this narrow grip lat pull down, while we are focusing on the back, the biceps have to work. Here we are. Here we are in that flexed elbow position. We're bent elbow, so we know the bicep had to shorten. We had to contract the bicep to get down there. We know the tricep had to passively elongate, but the lats are doing the work. That's what you're focusing on with this exercise. Okay, so with exercise itself, you start looking at it differently. You start to look at it in terms of multi-joint, single joint. Is it concentric, eccentric, or isometric? Is there passive loading or active loading? And believe me, as you get further and further into this, you can really dig in and do some fun stuff in terms of evaluating movement. For this, at 10 minutes, I'm going to sign off and move on to my next video. Have a good one. Signing out.